I never imagined my wife was capable of calculated cruelty, until the morning I walked into my living room and found my dog gone, his bed occupied by her lover's cat. That single image, a sleek, white Persian arrogantly curled where my loyal golden retriever should have been sleeping, shattered my world in an instant. The silence hit me first, actually. Not the usual comfortable quiet of our house before dawn, but a heavy, unnatural stillness. Max. My golden retriever, Max. He always slept near the fireplace, his soft snores a familiar rhythm in the dark. But his corner was empty. His favorite squeaky toy lay untouched. Panic, cold and sharp, seized my chest. I swung my legs out of bed, the hardwood floor chilling my bare feet. Max. I called out, my voice tight, raspy. Maxie boy? Where are you hiding? Silence was the only reply. My heart began a frantic drum against my ribs. I stumbled through the house, flipping on lights, my eyes scanning every shadow, every corner of rooms that suddenly felt vast and menacingly unfamiliar. Living room, kitchen, hallway, empty. The back door was securely locked. His leash still hung by the door. He hadn't just wandered out. Then I saw it. Nestled deep in Max's oversized orthopedic bed, the one I'd agonized over choosing, making sure it was perfect for his aging joints, was the cat. A fluffy, white Persian with dismissive, ice-chipped jade eyes. It blinked slowly, observing me with a regal indifference that felt like a slap in the face. A wave of dizziness washed over me. This wasn't just strange, this was a deliberate, sickening replacement. Where was my dog? And whose cat was this? My mind scrambled, desperately trying to avoid the conclusion that was already solidifying, cold and hard, in my gut. My wife, Sarah, her recent complaints about Max, her increasing distance, her secretive phone calls. No, please no. But the cat remained, a silent, fluffy symbol of an unimaginable betrayal, right there in the heart of my home. The devastating realization crashed down. My wife had done something truly unthinkable. My name is Mark. I guess you'd call me just a regular guy, mid-30s, working a decent job in logistics management. It's demanding, sure, but it pays the bills. Until that horrible morning, I honestly thought my life was pretty good, you know? Stable. Sarah and I had been married for 5 years. We lived in this nice suburban house, nothing fancy, but it had a fenced yard which was non-negotiable because of Max. We had our routines. Early mornings, work, maybe the gym if we weren't too tired, takeout on Fridays, lazy Sundays often spent hiking with Max or just lounging around. It felt secure, predictable, comfortable. The kind of comfortable that lets you sleep soundly at night. Or used to. Sarah and I met back in college. She was the outgoing one, ambitious, energetic, always surrounded by people. I was always quieter, more of an observer, perfectly happy letting her shine. People said we balanced each other. She worked in marketing, a real pressure cooker field, but she seemed to thrive on the deadlines and the competition. I genuinely admired her drive, her ability to command a room, even if I sometimes felt lost in her whirlwind. But the absolute, undeniable center of my world, the anchor in my life, was Max. I got him years before Sarah came along, actually. I was just out of university, feeling a bit lost, and this clumsy golden retriever puppy practically fell into my lap. He had these huge paws he couldn't quite manage and eyes that just radiated pure, uncomplicated love. Max saw me through bad jobs, worse breakups, moving 3 times. He was my constant. My furry shadow. He wasn't just a pet, he was family. He was the steady heartbeat in my life, the one I talked to when no one else understood. He knew all my secrets. Sarah knew exactly how much Max meant to me. That was never in doubt. When we first got serious, when she moved in, she made a real effort. Or at least it seemed like an effort. She bought him silly bandanas, posted photos of him on her social media, calling him her fur baby. She'd admit she wasn't naturally a dog person, but she seemed to accept him, even enjoy his goofy affection sometimes for my sake. I remember one specific afternoon, early on, we were all playing fetch in the park. Max was ecstatic, running like a lunatic, and Sarah was laughing, genuinely laughing, her head thrown back. Seeing them both happy like that, it felt like everything was falling into place. Max, bless his trusting heart, adored her right back, always greeting her with ecstatic wiggles and slobbery kisses, completely unaware of the storm clouds gathering on the horizon. I truly believed we were a team, Mark, Sarah, and Max. I believed our home was a sanctuary. I was a fool. I had absolutely no idea how complete the betrayal would be, or how brutally it would tear everything apart. The change in Sarah started subtly, like a slow poison seeping into the foundations of our life. It began with the dog hair. Innocent comments at first. "Mark, wow, Max is really shedding lately, isn't he? It's kind of everywhere." Then it escalated. "Honestly, it's embarrassing having people over with this much hair on the furniture. Can't you brush him more?" I was brushing him daily, vacuuming constantly, but suddenly it was never enough. Then came the supposed doggy smell. "The house has this distinct dog odor," she'd say, wrinkling her nose as she walked in the door. "Could you give Max another bath?" He got regular baths, same schedule as always, but now his natural clean dog scent was apparently offensive. Next came the allergies. Out of the blue. "My eyes have been so itchy," she'd complain, rubbing them theatrically. "And my nose is constantly stuffy. I read online you can develop pet allergies later in life. I think I might be allergic to Max." I immediately suggested allergy pills, air purifiers, keeping him out of the bedroom. Anything. She waved it off. No, it's probably just stress from work." She'd backtrack slightly, but the idea was planted, hovering in the air between us. Around this same time, David started cropping up in conversation constantly. David, her brilliant colleague. David, who just got the pressures of her job. David, who made her laugh. "David and I brainstormed this amazing campaign over lunch," she'd announce. "David thinks my proposal is genius." Or, "Had to work late with David finishing the presentation." Little pangs of jealousy, maybe insecurity, pricked at me, but I told myself to grow up. She was allowed to have work friends. Right? Her behavior grew more distant, more secretive. Late nights at the office became the norm, often explained with vague mutterings about deadlines. Her phone, once casually left on the coffee table, was now permanently glued to her hand or hidden away. Texts would arrive, she'd glance down, maybe a small smile, then quickly angle the screen away if I entered the room. A new password appeared on her laptop. "Just for work security, hon," she'd said breezily. Then, one evening over a strained dinner, she dropped the cat bomb. "You know," she mused, swirling her Chardonnay, avoiding my eyes. "I was thinking, maybe we should consider getting a cat? They're so much cleaner, really. And more independent. Less needy." I just stared at her. "A cat? Sarah, seriously?" "Max goes ballistic around cats. Remember Mr. Henderson's Siamese?" Max nearly pulled my arm off. "And what about her supposed allergies?" She shrugged, a gesture that felt dismissive. "Oh well, maybe it's just dog dander that bothers me. Cats might be different. Besides," she added, forcing a smile, "Max would adjust. It might be nice to have a different kind of energy in the house." A cold knot formed in my stomach. None of this felt right. The escalating complaints about my sweet, harmless Max, the late nights, the secrecy with her phone, David's constant presence in her stories, and now this sudden, inexplicable push for a cat. It was like pieces of a puzzle I didn't want to solve were clicking into place. The comfortable predictability of our life was fraying fast, replaced by a heavy sense of unease. Why the sudden, intense focus on getting rid of Max? What was she not telling me? The tension in the house grew thick enough to cut with a knife. Sarah's complaints about Max morphed from annoyance into outright hostility. "Do you have to let him drool on the floor like that? It's disgusting. David keeps his apartment pristine. He says pets just ruin nice things." David again. Always bloody David. His name was like a constant, bitter taste in my mouth. I tried repeatedly to talk to her, to understand what was really happening. "Sarah, please just tell me what's wrong. You used to love having Max around. If something's bothering you, we can fix it. Talk to me." But she just shut down or twisted around. "Why are you always so defensive about that dog? It's like you care more about him than you do about me. Can't I have feelings? Can't I want a clean house?" It was classic gaslighting, making me question my own perception, making me feel guilty for loving my dog. The space between us in bed widened. Our conversations dwindled to curt, transactional exchanges about bills or chores. The easy silences we used to share were replaced by awkward, heavy quiet. The laughter was gone. Then the passive-aggressive attacks on Max began. Small things easily deniable but adding up to a pattern of deliberate cruelty. I came home one afternoon to find the backyard gate slightly ajar. Max was sitting right by it, looking confused but too loyal to actually leave. "Oh, weird," Sarah said when I mentioned it. The wind must have blown it open. But it was a heavy gate with a secure latch. Another time, I found his water bowl completely empty after she'd been home alone for hours. Oops, totally forgot, she'd mumbled, not sounding sorry at all. I started noticing other discrepancies too. An expensive silk scarf draped over her bag. Definitely not her style and not something I'd bought her. Hidden credit card statements showing charges for fancy restaurants I'd never been to, bars downtown she supposedly hated. Once, cleaning her coat closet, I found a pair of men's driving gloves tucked in a pocket, expensive leather ones, not my size or brand. When I asked, she snapped, "Oh, those must be David's, he left them in my car ages ago after a work event." The excuses were getting lazier, more transparent. The breaking point came during a particularly nasty argument about Max tracking a bit of mud inside after a walk. "That's it," she screamed, her face contorted with rage. "I cannot live like this anymore, Mark. It's me or the dog." The ultimatum hung in the air, ugly and shocking. I stared at her, seeing not the woman I married, but a stranger filled with inexplicable resentment. "What are you talking about, Sarah? That's insane." "Is it?" she shot back, her voice cold now. "Think about it, Mark. Really think about what you prioritize." She turned and stormed off, leaving me standing there reeling. This wasn't about mud. It wasn't even just about David anymore. This felt like a calculated campaign to dismantle my life, piece by piece, starting with the creature I loved most in the world besides her. My suspicion hardened into certainty. Something was deeply, fundamentally wrong. And I had a sinking feeling Max was just the first target. Just a few days after the me or the dog ultimatum, Sarah's demeanor shifted dramatically. Suddenly she was all sweetness and light, full of apologies for being stressed. Then she sprang the surprise on me, a weekend fishing trip with my old college buddies Dave and Pete. "You've been working so hard, honey," she said, wrapping her arms around my neck, her smile feeling unervingly practiced. "You totally deserve a break. I called Dave, it's all arranged. They're so excited. Just go fish, relax, don't worry about a thing here." My internal alarms weren't just ringing, they were screaming. After weeks of hostility and that horrifying ultimatum, this sudden generosity felt completely fake, manipulative. A trip designed to get me out of the house? Right now? But Dave sounded genuinely thrilled when I called him back, confirming Sarah had indeed set everything up. Maybe I was being paranoid? The thought of escaping the toxic atmosphere at home, breathing fresh air by a lake, casting a line without glancing over my shoulder, it was incredibly tempting. So I packed. With a heavy heart and a churning gut, I packed. Before I left, I knelt down and hugged Max tight, burying my face in his soft, familiar fur. "Be a good boy for Sarah," I whispered, scratching behind his ears. "I'll be back Sunday night." He licked my face, his tail thumping reassuringly against my leg. Oh, Max. If only I had listened to that knot of dread instead of the promise of escape. If only I hadn't walked out that door. The fishing trip was okay. The company was great, the scenery beautiful, but I couldn't shake a persistent unease. I tried calling Sarah Saturday evening. Straight to voicemail. Weird, she always answered. I sent a text asking how Max was doing. No reply. Sunday morning, same thing, calls went unanswered, texts remained unread. The knot of anxiety tightened, twisting into real fear. Something was wrong. I knew it. "Guys, I gotta head back," I told Dave and Pete, cutting the trip short Sunday afternoon. They were disappointed but saw the worry on my face. Something feels off at home. The drive back was agonizing, every mile stretching into an eternity, my mind racing through worst-case scenarios. I pulled into our driveway around 4 p.m. The house looked normal but it felt wrong. Too still. I unlocked the front door, my hand trembling slightly. "Sarah? Max? I'm home." The silence that greeted me was absolute. Chilling. I walked into the living room and my breath caught in my throat. My gaze shot instantly to the fireplace. Max's bed was there. But nestled in it, preening itself, was that white Persian cat. The one Sarah had mentioned wanting. Its presence felt like an invasion, a desecration. "Sarah!" I yelled, my voice cracking with panic and rising fury. She appeared in the doorway of our bedroom, looking cool and composed, dressed in clothes I didn't recognize. "Oh, Mark. You weren't supposed to be back until later." No surprise, no warmth, just calculation. Where is Max, Sarah? Answer me. Where is my dog? I advanced towards her, my fists clenched so tight my knuckles were white. She wouldn't meet my eyes. She drifted towards the kitchen counter, pouring herself a glass of water with a calmness that was utterly terrifying. Mark, we need to talk calmly about this. Calmly? My dog is missing and there's a strange cat in his bed. Where is he? I slammed my hand on the counter, rattling the glasses. She finally looked up, her expression shifting into that fake mask of regretful sympathy. Mark, I'm sorry. Max, he's gone. Gone? What do you mean gone? Did he get out? Where did he go? Hope flickered desperately, fighting against the dread. Yes, he ran away, she said, the lie thin and poorly constructed. While you were gone. The back gate. I think maybe it wasn't latched properly after the gardener came Friday? He must have slipped out sometime yesterday. I looked everywhere, Mark, I called his name, I drove around. I swear. Ran away? Max has never run away. He wouldn't leave the yard even if the gate was open. He waits for me. The lie was insulting. The pristine water bowl, the empty hook where his leash belonged, the timing, and that cat. And what the hell is that doing here? I jabbed a shaking finger towards the Persian, who yawned delicately. Oh, Sarah feigned surprise. That's Snowball. My colleague Linda? She had a family emergency and needed someone to watch her cat for a bit. Just temporary. Another blatant lie. The white fur I'd seen on her blazer weeks ago flashed in my mind. Stop lying to me, Sarah. I roared, the sound echoing in the sterile silence of the room. You hated him. You gave me that ultimatum. What did you do with my dog? She flinched, the mask slipping for a heartbeat, revealing raw guilt. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by a chilling defiance. Okay, fine. You want the truth? He didn't run away. I couldn't take it anymore, Mark. The hair, the smell, the constant neediness. My allergies were real. It was making me miserable. So yes, I found him a new home. A good home on a farm upstate. Someone who actually wants a dog like him. You gave away my dog? The words felt like stones in my mouth. My Max? Without asking me? Without even telling me? While I was gone on a trip you pushed me to take. The betrayal was a physical blow, stealing my breath. Oh, where is this farm? Give me their number now. It doesn't matter, she said coolly, turning away. It's done. He's probably happier there anyway. And honestly, Mark, it's better for us too. Look how quiet it is. Quiet? It felt like the world had ended. I collapsed onto a kitchen stool, the room spinning. My dog, my loyal companion for over a decade, gone. Handed off like unwanted junk by my own wife. Then, through the fog of shock and grief, I noticed something on the Persian cat. A glint of silver against its white fur. A collar. An expensive leather collar with a small, engraved tag. Driven by a sudden, sickening suspicion, I stood up and slowly approached the cat. Sarah inhaled sharply behind me. Mark, don't. Snowball, the cat, allowed me to gently examine the tag. Engraved on it was the name, Snowball, a phone number, and an address across town. An address I'd never heard of. And below the address, one more name, David Miller. David. Her brilliant colleague. The understanding David. The owner of the driving gloves. It all crashed together with horrifying clarity. The late nights. The secret texts. The targeted complaints about Max. Her sudden allergies. The push for a cat. The perfectly timed fishing trip. The presence of this specific cat in Max's bed. Oh God. It wasn't a farm upstate. It was him. It was always him. She hadn't just given Max away. She had traded him. She had traded my dog, my family, for her lover's cat, like some kind of twisted, convenient swap. Fury, cold and absolute, surged through me, burning away the shock, crystallizing into icy resolve. She had ripped out a piece of my soul. And she was going to pay for it. The evidence wasn't hard to find. Sarah had gotten sloppy, arrogant. Fueled by a potent cocktail of adrenaline and rage, I went straight to my home office and locked the door. Sarah rattled the knob briefly, her voice muffled, demanding to know what I was doing, but I ignored her. She soon gave up, probably retreating to text David the latest development. I powered up our shared tablet. Sarah sometimes used it for quick emails or online shopping. My heart pounded against my ribs as I opened the mail application. Please be logged in, please be logged in. Yes. Her personal Gmail account was still active. My hands were surprisingly steady as I navigated the folders. Inbox, sent, trash. Looking for anything related to David Miller or Max. And then I saw it. A chain of emails between Sarah and David stretching back nearly 6 months. Starting flirty, then becoming overtly sexual, planning clandestine meetings, complaining about me, my obliviousness, my devotion to that damn dog, and fantasizing about their future together. Then I hit the jackpot. Or maybe the nadir. An email thread from just 2 weeks prior. David was complaining that his apartment building's management had suddenly banned cats, effective immediately. He didn't know what to do with Snowball. Sarah replied, full of sympathy and heart emojis, saying she had a brilliant idea that could solve both their problems. She laid out the plan: use her worsening allergies as leverage, arrange the fishing trip to get me out of the picture for the weekend, then tell me Max had run away or needed rehoming for his own good. David could take Max, his landlord bizarrely only prohibited felines, and she could take Snowball. David replied, thrilled. Perfect. It's like a fair trade, he'd written, followed by laughing emojis. A fair trade. My Max. My loyal, loving companion of 12 years. Traded. For a cat. And convenience. Nausea rose in my throat. I methodically printed every single email. The affectionate notes, the explicit plans, the lies about me, the cold-blooded plotting about Max. Everything. Then I searched David Miller's name, using the address from Snowball's tag to confirm his identity. A quick look on LinkedIn confirmed his position at Sarah's company. Then I found his public Instagram profile. And my blood ran cold. Posted just the day before, a smug selfie of David on his apartment balcony, with Max sitting beside him. Max looked utterly bewildered, stressed, and was wearing a ridiculous, frilly blue collar that definitely wasn't his. Seeing Max like that, looking so lost and unhappy in that alien environment, it broke my heart all over again, but it also solidified my resolve into something diamond hard. The grief was immense, but the rage was a clean, cold fire. How dare they? How dare she treat a living being, a member of our family, with such callous disregard? Okay, Mark, breathe, I told myself. Getting hysterical wouldn't help Max. Blind rage wouldn't bring him home. I needed a plan. Precise. Effective. Step 1. Retrieve Max legally and definitively. Step 2. Make Sarah and David face the consequences of their actions in a way they would never forget. I dug out Max's file from the cabinet. Microchip registration paperwork, clearly in my name, dated years before I even met Sarah. Vet records going back to his puppyhood. Adoption papers. Irrefutable proof of ownership. David Miller was currently in possession of my stolen dog. This was bigger than just getting Max back now. This was about justice for him and for the vows Sarah had broken. She thought she could just discard pieces of my life that inconvenienced her affair. She thought I was weak, oblivious. She thought she'd orchestrated the perfect crime. But she'd made crucial mistakes. Sending me away gave me the space to uncover the truth. Bringing the lover's cat into my home gave me the key, David's name and address on the tag. The irony was searing. She'd handed me the tools for her own destruction. And I was ready to use them. My first priority was Max. Forget the farm upstate lie. The Instagram post proved he was with David right across town. I had the microchip proof, the vet records, the emails detailing the illicit trade. I considered calling the police immediately to report the theft. But the thought of flashing lights, strangers, potentially stressing Max even more, no. I decided to confront David directly first. Retrieve Max quietly, then unleash hell on Sarah. A calm retrieval would also lull them into a false sense of security before the main event. I made copies of Max's microchip certificate and the most recent vet bill showing my name and address. Then, clutching the papers and David's address from Snowball's tag, I drove to his apartment complex. It was one of those sterile, modern buildings trying too hard to be cool. My stomach twisted with a potent mix of anxiety for Max and cold fury towards the man who had him. I found D. Miller on the intercom directory and pressed the button. A moment later, a cautious voice crackled, "Hello? David Miller?" I kept my voice level, devoid of emotion. Speaking. "Who's this?" "My name is Mark Stevens. Sarah's husband. And you have my dog." A beat of shocked silence. Then nervous static. Sorry mate, you must have the wrong place." "No David, I don't." "Max." My 12-year-old golden retriever. I have his microchip registration right here in my name. I also have emails between you and Sarah detailing exactly how he ended up in your apartment. So, you can either bring him down now or I call the police and report him stolen. It makes no difference to me, but it might to your career. Your call. The threat hung there heavy and sharp. Another pause, longer this time. Then a defeated sigh. Okay. Came in. 4th floor. Apartment 4B. The buzzer sounded. The elevator ascended with agonizing slowness. My heart hammered. When the doors slid open on the 4th floor, David Miller was standing there outside his apartment. He looked exactly like the smug profile picture. Slick hair, fashionable clothes, but the arrogance was gone, replaced by visible nervousness. He couldn't quite meet my eyes. And then, behind his legs, peering out cautiously. Max, my boy. He looked thinner, his coat dull, and there was a heartbreaking confusion in his eyes. He whined softly when he saw me. Maxie. The name ripped from my throat, thick with emotion. I dropped to my knees right there in the hallway. He surged forward, practically knocking me over, whining and covering my face in frantic, desperate licks, his whole body wiggling, his tail banging against the floor like a drum. Overwhelming relief washed through me, so intense my legs felt shaky. I hugged him fiercely, burying my face in his familiar-smelling fur, tears blurring my vision. For a moment, nothing else mattered. Max was safe. Look, David started awkwardly, shifting his weight. Look, Mark, I swear this is just a massive misunderstanding. Sarah told me. I know exactly what Sarah told you. I cut him off, standing up, my hand protectively on Max's back. I saw the ridiculous frilly blue collar around his neck and immediately unclipped it, shoving it into my pocket with disgust. Max leaned hard against my leg. She lied. To you, to me. But Max is my dog. End of story. Here's the proof. I thrust the copies of the microchip registration and vet bill at him. He barely glanced at them, his face pale. He knew he was cornered. Shit. Look, I didn't realize, she said you were okay with it, that he needed a new place. Save it, I said, my voice flat. Just get his leash and whatever else she brought over for him. David scurried back inside, returning moments later with Max's proper leash and a small bag containing his food bowls and one raggedy tennis ball. He practically threw them at me, avoiding eye contact. From the apartment doorway, Snowball watched the exchange with supreme feline indifference. We're leaving, I said, clipping the familiar red leash onto Max's collar. He pulled towards the elevator, clearly desperate to leave. Just as the elevator doors opened, I paused and turned back to David, who looked profoundly relieved to see us go. Hey David? Sarah has that big presentation for the Harrison account next Wednesday morning, right? At the main office. He looked startled by the non sequitur. Yeah? 9 a.m. Why? A cold, tight smile touched my lips. Just curious, I said softly. Enjoy your cat. The elevator doors slid shut, leaving David Miller standing there looking utterly confused and deeply uneasy. Perfect. Bringing Max home felt like restoring equilibrium to the universe. He trotted straight to his spot by the fireplace, sniffed it thoroughly, circled 3 times, and collapsed with a long, contented sigh that echoed my own relief. He was home. I sat on the floor beside him for a long time, just stroking his soft fur, listening to him breathe, the tears finally coming, not tears of anger this time, but of pure, unadulterated relief. Sarah wasn't back yet. Snowball was still in the house, an unwelcome reminder. I found the cat carrier Sarah must have used tucked in the hall closet. Calmly, deliberately, I picked up Snowball, placed the cat inside, secured the latch, and put the carrier, along with David's expensive collar and tag, by the front door. Phase 1, Max recovery, complete. Phase 2, retribution, was set for Wednesday. Wednesday morning dawned bright and clear. I knew Sarah's schedule intimately. The Harrison pitch was make or break for her promotion, a high-stakes presentation to the company's senior partners, including the CEO, Mr. Henderson, a notoriously principled, old-school executive who valued integrity and loyalty above all else. Sarah had been prepping for this for months, long before David and the affair seemingly consumed her focus. I had spent the last few days meticulously preparing my own presentation. I compiled the damning email exchanges between Sarah and David, highlighting the parts explicitly discussing the affair, their deceit, and the cold-blooded plan to trade Max for Snowball. I included a printout of David's Instagram post showing Max at his apartment. I arranged everything neatly in a professional-looking presentation folder, complete with a brief, factual cover letter outlining the situation and my reason for bringing it to Mr. Henderson's attention. I also made sure to include evidence of them using company email for their illicit communications. I dressed carefully, a sharp suit, projecting calm confidence. Not grief-stricken husband, but determined agent of consequence. Max was safe and happy, spending the day with my sister, who knew the whole sordid story and was spoiling him rotten. Walking into the gleaming lobby of Sarah's corporate office building felt strangely empowering. I bypassed the reception desk, my heart rate steady, and headed directly towards the main executive conference room on the top floor. I knew the layout. I'd attended company Christmas parties there. Through the floor-to-ceiling glass walls, I saw the meeting in progress. Sarah stood at the head of the long, polished table, pointing at a slide, radiating forced confidence. Mr. Henderson sat at the opposite end, flanked by several stern-faced VPs. And there, a few seats down from Sarah, looking green around the gills, was David Miller. He kept fidgeting with his tie. Showtime. I pushed the heavy glass door open just enough to step inside. The soft click echoed in the suddenly silent room. Every head swiveled towards me. Sarah froze, her mouth slightly open, the color instantly draining from her face. Her professional mask didn't just crack, it shattered. Shock, fear, and dawning comprehension warred in her eyes. "Mark," she whispered, her voice barely audible. What are you doing here?" Mr. Henderson frowned, his bushy eyebrows knitting together. "Excuse me, sir. This is a private executive meeting." "My sincere apologies for the intrusion, Mr. Henderson," I said, my voice calm, clear, and carrying easily across the room. I made eye contact with him directly. "My name is Mark Stevens. Was Sarah Stevens' husband. I have information that I believe directly impacts the ethical judgment and professional integrity of at least 2 individuals currently employed by your company and present in this room." A collective intake of breath. Sarah swayed slightly, gripping the edge of the table. David stared down at his notes, looking like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. The other executives exchanged uneasy glances. "And what is the meaning of this interruption, Mr. Stevens?" Henderson demanded, his gaze sharp and appraising. "The meaning, sir," I continued, walking slowly but purposefully towards the head of the table, stopping beside Sarah but looking only at Henderson, "is that my wife Sarah has been conducting a long-term affair with her colleague, Mr. David Miller, often utilizing company time and resources." Gasps, muted but audible, went around the table. Sarah started shaking visibly. Furthermore, I placed the prepared folder squarely on the polished table in front of Mr. Henderson. Their affair recently culminated in a particularly despicable act. While Sarah arranged for me to be out of town, she secretly removed my 12-year-old dog Max from our home and delivered him to Mr. Miller. I paused, letting the silence stretch, my gaze sweeping the stunned faces before landing briefly on Sarah's tear-streaked one. In exchange, she brought Mr. Miller's cat, Snowball, into my home, apparently because Mr. Miller's apartment building banned cats. The silence now was absolute, thick with disbelief and a palpable sense of scandal. Sarah let out a choked sob, covering her face with her hands. "Inside that folder, Mr. Henderson," I gestured towards it, "you will find irrefutable proof. Printed emails between Mrs. Stevens and Mr. Miller detailing their affair, their coordinated deception, and their callous plan to trade my dog. Photographic evidence is also included. I believe it speaks volumes about their character, their trustworthiness, and their suitability for positions of responsibility within this company." Mr. Henderson's expression was stony. He picked up the folder, his lips tight, and began to read the cover letter, then flipped through the emails. His frown deepened into a scowl with every page he turned. The room was so quiet you could hear Sarah's ragged breathing. "I retrieved my dog yesterday," I stated firmly, my voice steady. "Max is safe and back where he belongs. As for Mr. Miller's cat..." I allowed my gaze to drift towards David, who refused to look up. "Snowball is currently waiting downstairs in a carrier. Perhaps Mr. Miller can collect his pet on his way out." I let that hang in the air. "Assuming he still has employment privileges to exit through the front door." I looked at Sarah one last time. The anger had faded, replaced by a cold, empty finality. "It's over, Sarah. Consider this my final word." Then, without waiting for any response, without a backward glance at the scene of devastation I had wrought, I turned on my heel and walked out of the conference room. The heavy door clicked shut behind me, muffling the sounds of the implosion I just triggered. Stepping into the elevator, I pressed the button for the ground floor, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, I breathed freely. The revenge wasn't just satisfying, it felt like a necessary rebalancing of the scales. Justice served cold and clinically. The fallout was exactly as swift and brutal as I'd hoped. Mr. Henderson, a man who apparently took ethics and loyalty very seriously, was appalled not just by the affair but by the calculated cruelty towards Max documented in the emails. Sarah was immediately suspended. After a brief internal investigation confirmed everything in my folder, she was fired for gross misconduct, citing misuse of company resources and conduct damaging to the company's reputation. The Harrison account, her big chance, was obviously lost to her. David Miller managed to cling to his job, but only just. He received a formal reprimand, was demoted several levels, and effectively became persona non grata within the office. The humiliation was likely punishment enough, though I heard through the grapevine he was desperately seeking new employment elsewhere. He did, indeed, collect Snowball from the carrier I'd left discreetly with building security, avoiding my presence entirely. Good. Sarah moved her things out while I was at work, leaving the key on the counter. The divorce was uncontested and finalized quickly. She clearly just wanted the whole humiliating chapter buried. We sold the house, divided the assets, and went our separate ways. I never spoke to her again, and I never wanted to. I found a smaller place, a cozy apartment with hardwood floors and big windows overlooking a huge park. It's perfect for Max and me. Life is much quieter now, simpler, but it's a genuine, peaceful quiet, not the suffocating silence that had choked our old house. Max is absolutely thriving. He seems younger, more energetic, sensing the lack of tension in the air. He follows me everywhere, sleeps soundly at my feet, and greets every walk in the park like the grand adventure it is. Having him back, safe, happy, and unconditionally loving, that was the real prize. The betrayal cut deep, there's no denying it. Discovering Sarah's capacity for deceit, her willingness to discard both me and Max so casually for her own selfish desires, was a harsh lesson in judging character. But it also taught me resilience. It showed me I could stand up for myself, fight for what mattered, for Max, and emerge stronger. There's a profound, quiet satisfaction in knowing they didn't get away with it. Call it karma, call it consequences, call it whatever you want. My revenge wasn't born solely of anger, but of a need for justice, for accountability. It was about reclaiming my dignity, protecting my best friend, and drawing an indelible line in the sand against betrayal. Now it's just me and Max facing the future together. And honestly, life has never felt better.